So as this story continues to unfold, Americans seeking to grow their family through surrogacy have a lot of questions about what these cases mean for the future. So to discuss, let's bring in the co-author of The War on Reality and president of crossexaminant.org, Frank Turek, along with trial attorney and legal analyst Terri Austin. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. So, Frank, first to you. This is complicated. The biological parent's attorney issued a statement saying, quote, McKenna West's baseless attempts to intervene in the child's medical care have been soundly rejected by the courts. They've also accused West of political theater. I think that some would argue that medical care is not abortion. How do you see this case playing out?
Well, one of the problems with surrogacy, Katie, is the fact that you're trying to unscramble eggs. You know, here you have two mothers. And you might argue that two mothers that have some legitimate right to declare themselves the mother of the baby, and that's what surrogacy does. The problem is there is no way to unscramble these eggs now. Surrogacy has this inherent problem of creating two mothers, and the only person that doesn't have a choice in any of this is Gabriel himself, the baby. He gets no vote at all. And so it's a very difficult situation. I am of the mind that surrogacy is something that should not be allowed for precisely this reason. Human beings are not commodities. We don't create human beings as a commodity. And yet that's exactly what's happened here. And I don't know what the right solution is at this point. I do know that the DNA parents, the genetic parents, actually wanted to terminate the pregnancy, whereas Ms. West here wanted to have the baby. So a court's going to have to decide this, but it probably should have never come to this to begin with, because surrogacy creates this inherent problem.
All right, I want to get back to that point in just a second, but Terri, to you, does giving birth in Texas legally override a signed surrogacy contract? Because the surrogate has no genetic connection to the child that she was carrying. So what kind of battle is she facing as she has no biological ties to this child, where she's claiming now, because she gave birth in Texas, that it's her child, even though she agreed to be a surrogate, not to be the mother?
Well, I think the reason that she actually went to Texas is because she does have greater rights in Texas than she would have had either in Alaska or in California. In Texas, there is this rule where if there is no valid reinforced gestational surrogacy agreement by the court, then there is this proportional where even if you don't have any genetic connection as the birth mother, you do have some rights. So that's the reason she actually went to Texas, and also to get some additional care. I do believe, however, that the biological parents have a very good argument under the agreement that they entered into with Ms. West in California. And so far, the Texas court has actually said that the biological parents can determine the medical care, which they already have. There has already been one surgery, and that for now they will have custody, and that Ms. West will not be able to be in contact with the baby. We'll find out in August the 25th, what happens next. But for now, the Texas court has even agreed with the biological parents.
Well, it just seems like the rights of all involved here are in conflict. The right of the baby, whether they should have been aborted or not, the right of the surrogate mother, and the rights of the biological parents, and contracts in different states and different laws in different states that are contradictory to each other. But Frank, I'm going to go back to what you said about surrogacy and it being, you know, children are not a commodity. And that is true. They should not be a commodity. But what would you say to families who are not seeing it as a commodity, who are seeing it as a way to grow their family because they themselves have some biological medical reason they can't have children, and surrogacy is a way for them to have biological children with a surrogate?
Yeah, well, the question is, are we going to do everything for the desires of the parents or the rights of the child? That's the question. And too often, we overlook what is really good for a child in order to give parents what they want. I mean, it's wonderful that parents want to have children, but sometimes if you can't do it biologically, the next best step is to adopt. Now, when you adopt someone, as you know, Katie, you have to go through a vetting process. You have to have people come to your house and make sure that you're going to be a good parent. In surrogacy, you don't have any of that. All you need to do is write a check. And you write a check in order to buy essentially a baby. That can be problematic. There's probably no perfect solution here. But my big problem here is that who is always overlooked is actually the baby. And
so maybe some better check marks on the system if you're not fully on board with eliminating surrogacy altogether.
Yes.
Terri, just real quickly, if the court rules in McKenna's favor, who's the surrogate, what's to stop any surrogate from signing a legally binding contract to biological parents who are trying to have a child from just fleeing to another state that says, well, if you give birth in this state, the baby is yours, even though you have no biological connection?
Yeah, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. That is the reason, because this will serve as precedent. Now, you have to realize that the United States Supreme Court has not picked up this issue. So it is a state-by-state issue. And what happens in Texas may not happen in another state. But it does lay the groundwork for other surrogates saying, I'll sign an agreement, but at the end of the day, this is my child. I birthed the baby. It is my determination. So you just never know what will happen if that type of decision is made here in this case.
All right. Well, we were going to interview the surrogate's attorney, and he bailed. So we had a lot of, I think, interesting questions that would have helped the audience understand the situation, which is complicated, better. But we appreciate you both coming on tonight. Thank you very much. The War on Reality by Frank Turek and Phoenix Hayes is available now for pre-order. It's on your screens. It hits shelves on September 8th. Thank you both for being here, Frank and Terri. Great to see you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.